What's up, guys? Lucas Still and Steven Talbert here from Optimum Athletes, and today we're going to talk to you guys about training economy. So this has been a topic that we've kind of been talking about in our gym a lot lately, and training economy is basically how much effort or time you can spend and put stress on your body before it becomes detrimental. So one example, or sort of, what do you want to call it, way to look at it, that I like to use, I think Driveline came up with it, and basically you think of training economy as if you have a dollar bill. So if you have $1 to spend on training, and say you go through a tough workout that day, and say that costs 30 cents, and then say you have a throwing a game, or say you're doing pull downs or something that's pretty high output, and say that also costs 30 cents, and then say stress from school or work or life or girlfriends or whatever it is the daily stress on your body, say it's 10 cents. So say at the end of the day you spend 70 cents just based on stress on your body. And then say you have a good meal and take a shower and get 8 hours of sleep, and say you earn back 50 cents from your recovery that night. You're starting the next day with 80 cents to spend. You don't have that dollar. So if you do that too many days in a row, you're eventually going to be at a negative, which can definitely lead to injury.
I would say the biggest risk factor with that is if you're trying to perform on a consistent basis, whether it's training or playing on a less than your dollar, we'll say, less than your 100%, which is okay in training. We know that we want to stress the body, but if you're constantly trying to overload yourself in hopes that it just happens to magically make you a lot better, we see the injuries go up. We see performance decrease, or little pains here and there. More guys going to PT, and it's not necessarily terrible if you're just going to PT or whatever, but we don't want to see major injuries, so that's why stressing the idea to, get your recovery days in, make them priority is huge for us and everybody else training,
Taking also those recovery days as recovery days. We have kids in here sometimes that they feel good and they want to let a couple eat on recovery days, and then they don't fully recover on that day, so they never earn back enough training economy to hit it hard on their actual velo days. Mm-hmm. Or also just not communicating with us what they're doing outside of the gym. Yeah. So if we're programming some high intensity stuff in here and they're going out and pitching in games 6 innings, or going on
flat grounds, whatever it is,
playing in a basketball pickup game with their buddies, stress is stress. And so if you're putting it on your body, whether it's in our gym or outside of our gym, it's still going to take a toll on your body. And the other thing is, if you're not recovering enough, this is where sleep comes in. Like if you're not getting 8 hours of sleep a night, if you're getting 4 or 5 hours, if you're up all night playing Fortnite or whatever the kids are playing nowadays, then you might not be earning back enough training economy to spend the next day. And again, that can lead to injury down the road. So making sure that your recovery days are actually your recovery days. And that's also why programming is so important, why we program guys to usually not lift on their recovery days. So we want recovery days to be true recovery days, so you're not stressing your body in the weight room, and that way you can actually, again, earn that training economy back. Yeah. But also sticking to a plan, right? So you can't just, I'm just going to pull down this day, or I'm going to, take my recovery day and still fire my, roll-ins on the wall as hard as I can and play catch, play long toss. It's just not ideal for training outcome.
For anybody, no matter who you are, 12 years old to, pros. I mean, it all matters. I think that's the biggest thing. When you first sit down with somebody, I think our job too as instructors, not so much the athlete, is our job is to sit the athlete down. And I think the number one question should be, okay, what time of year is it? And then, what's our plan? How are we going to be able to get around this? What can we use? Are we training? Are we getting ready for games? That's the first conversation. What are we trying to accomplish here? So we don't mess them up in the sense. And we really have to, going back to what Luke said with program, we have to get them to understand, hey, okay, for example, we're in a skill phase. We're going to try to get better at velocity. We want to get velocity on your fastball. We can't be out, throwing in 2 games a week, 1 inning. Mm-hmm. It takes away from the time you need in the gym. All we can do on our end now is hopefully recover, get you recovered for your next game. It becomes in season at that point. So you got to bucket these athletes to get them to understand, the how and why of what you're going to do for the next 2-3 months, or else they won't know. They'll just go do whatever they want. Which in that case, it comes back to us. We got to be really good at our job of communication with the athlete, because if you don't have that, then you don't really have their understanding. And hopefully that's why this episode, or just like Driveline's done it before, you get them to understand the dollar concept or whatever it is.
Yeah, and that's also, training economy is also kind of the main reason why when we're in the off season, we're going to start to either hit it harder in the weight room. And then when we transition to in season, obviously we transition in season lists where we're scaling back to maybe 2 times a week instead of 4 times a week. we're keeping the intensity as a sense of, weight, but we're dropping down the reps so we can have less strain on the body. So instead of doing, 3x10, maybe we're doing 3x3s, so that we can spend more of our training economy on our games, on our in-season. I mean, the seasons of, for anyone, seasons is a lot very stressful. Like when you add in travel, bus rides,
Practice.
You're usually doing season, you're in school, so
you're spending a big portion of your dollar there. I mean,
yeah. So that's why you got to kind of easy back in the weight room, but we obviously want to maintain strength. So that's where maintain the high weight and just less reps comes in. But also, as far as training economy, if you had to kind of give a very simple definition of how you gain muscle, right? When you lift weights, you're essentially creating micro tears in your muscles, and then that night when you go to sleep, it's actually when your body repairs itself. So you're not technically building muscle when you're actually lifting the weight. You're technically building muscle when you're getting your sleep, and usually your REM sleep, and your body's going in and repairing those muscles. So on those recovery days, on the recovery part where you're actually supposed to be getting sleep, if you're not doing that, if you're not allowing your body to gain back that training economy, then you're not actually reaping the benefits from your training.
Yeah, you could be cutting yourself off, which is like, I think that's why you got to understand, how important it really is and how hard it really is to do these things. I mean, training in general is pretty stressful, and if you want to have a top-notch skill set, you're gonna have to stress your body out a little bit. And the recovery days and the training economy, understanding it as a whole is really important. If you first sit down with your athletes, or if you're an athlete yourself, knowing not to go out and just do what you see on Twitter and Instagram in the backyard, doesn't mean you can't have fun. It's just it's a pretty integrated process. So.
Well, it's taking it with a grain of salt, right? There's so much info on Twitter, and explore, go down the rabbit hole, and check out all these pages,
educate yourself, right?
Drills and all these different perspectives, and learn all of it. But you don't want to go watch 10 different drills and do all 10 in one day, and then do them day in and day out, and constantly be overkilling yourself in the weight room, or overworking yourself on the plyo wall, and then just literally working yourself to exhaustion to the point of injury. And kind of that thing that I talked about just a little bit ago about lifting and actually building muscle when you're sleeping, the same kind of goes for throwing in a sense. Yeah. We have athletes kind of either freak out or just not really know what soreness is in a velo phase when they go through it for the first time. But you kind of have to add stressors and add things to your body that are going to tax the body more than it's been used to, and that's how you actually gain strength. That's how you gain velo. That's how you gain anything. You add stressors, and then you allow the body time to recover so that it can adapt to the new stressors. And that's when you either end up lifting more weights or throwing harder, because the body has now prepared itself and actually recovered more and put on more muscle or adapted to the situation, the stressors in it. But if you don't allow the body the time to do that, right, with your recovery days, with your sleep, with your whatever your recovery process looks like, if that's time with the PT, if that's time with the Normatec, the Mark Pro, eating well, like there's so many factors in there. But the thing is, when you take training economy into consideration, you have to give your body time to recover in order to perform well the next time. So you can't be doing 3 velocity days in a row. You can't be throwing in a game and then lifting as if it's an off season and then doing a velo day the next day.
Or just doing 2 throws, 3 extra throws off the mound all of a sudden. It's just very random things.
Yeah. And the other thing that's interesting is that is almost, to me, counterintuitive, but makes sense when you dive into it, is, if you go and you lift whatever the exercise is, say you're lifting 185 10 times, that's actually more stressful on the body than if you lift 225 3 times, just because if the 10 extra reps, even though it's less weight, is way more taxing on the body. And so that's why in season, for us at least, we program more guys 3x3s and stuff where it's higher weight, so you can maintain the strength, but you're not taxing the muscles too much where you're killing them under 40 reps over.
Yeah, your performance is the main goal, right? We want you out there feeling good.
Exactly. And one kind of final thing about this is just, if you have a program, just stick to it. If it's working, obviously it's not working, then you can make adjustments to it, but if your program's working for you, although you might get excited by early gains and want to add more to it or kind of hit the gas pedal, like, follow the plan, stick to the plan. If you're seeing results, just kind of keep trending in the right direction. We've definitely had some trainees in here that have had a bit taste of success, and then they want to kind of kick it into high gear and kind of go off on their own and do their own thing, and then they end up hurt. So definitely, if something's working for you, I'd say stick with it. Yeah. Just be conscious of training economy in the process, and be conscious of a plan.
Yeah, execute it. Yeah.
Try to peak on days you're supposed to peak, right? Don't try to blow it out on a recovery day and then try to blow it out 2 days later on your velo day, and then all of a sudden you're banged up, and it's just all bad news. So that's that wraps up my thoughts on training economy.
That's pretty much it, man. Just do your best work on those days. Understand where that's at, and hopefully on your big days you're seeing those gains.
If you guys have any questions about training economy or other concepts in general, feel free to reach out to us. You can email us or message us on Instagram, Twitter, anything.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it in future episodes. So thanks, guys.
All right,
Peace
guys.
out.
We're back.